One is Sand Showgirl, owned by Bill Sanders of Stevenson, Alabama, trained by Jim Artledge Jr., Dallas Miller. Number 2 is Tiger's Time to Ring, owned by Mary Klinke of Lakeview, Ohio, trained by Myron Earl with Jim Shelton. Number 3 is Magic Star, owned and trained by Donald Robinson of Cincinnati, Ohio, Jason Brewer. The 4 is Pokerante, owned by Carol Gamble of Bradford, Ohio, trained by Steve Livingston, Bob Harper. The 5 is Big and Fancy, owned by Richard and May Stempfley of Hamilton, Ohio, trained by Mike Lee, Danny Noble. The 6 is Fran Cam Cisco, owned by Calvin Lamb of Marion, Ohio, trained by Jim Pollock Jr., Kayne Kauffman. The 7 is CAMBIDEXTROUS, owned by Jack Pride and Edward Miller of Wisconsin and Illinois, trained by Jeff Miller, Dave Hawk. The 8 is CANVAS, owned by Sharon Lane of Sunbury, Ohio, and Raymond Kinney of Croton, Ohio, trained by Raymond Kinney with Brett Miller. From the outside of the 9 is Cincy Anna, owned by Thomas Price of Cincinnati, Ohio, trained and driven by Jack Dailey, and scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Flaming Trick, owned by Kenneth Reynolds of LaRue, Ohio, who also does the training. Jeff Fout is in her sulky. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away middle of the track. There goes the 5, Big and Fancy. Right alongside is CAMBIDEXTROUS. Driving up from post 8, there is Canvas. Coming away in 4th is Tiger's Time to Ring. 5th is Pokerante. 6th and caught to the outside is Fran Cam Cisco. 7th on the inside, that is Sand Showgirl. 8th, that is Flaming Trick. 9th is Magic Star. In 10th and trailing the field, that is Cincy Anna. As they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter and on top of the field, Big and Fancy leads them through an initial quarter of 27 and 2/5. CAMBIDEXTROUS is right there in the garden spot, tracking in 2. Along the inside, racing in 3rd, that is Tiger's Time to Ring. 4th is Canvas. 5th on the inside, Pokerante. Caught to the outside in 6th is Fran Cam Cisco. Following that move in 7th is Sand Showgirl. 8th and 3rd over is Flaming Trick. 9th is Magic Star in a ground-saving journey there in 10th, and trailing the field, Cincy Anna. As they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. On top of the field, Big and Fancy, and Dan Noble is going to take them to the half. They're halfway home in 58 and 1/5. Along the inside, CAMBIDEXTROUS is right there in the garden spot, racing in 2. Off the turn, and they'll start their long journey down the backside. Along the inside, pacing in 3rd, that is Tiger's Time to Ring. Fran Cam Cisco is beginning to tire on the outside in 4th, and here comes Sand Showgirl. And Sand Showgirl was sent up 3 wide as it advancing towards the leaders as they march down the backside on top. Big and Fancy with the lead. CAMBIDEXTROUS is still right there in the garden spot, nose to helmet in 2, 3/4 and 127 and 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. And Big and Fancy with the lead here under a tippy tap of the whip. Sand Showgirl is drove up alongside of the leader's wheel disc in 2. Along the inside, CAMBIDEXTROUS awaits the passing lane in 3rd, and now swinging up 3 wide on the outside, Flaming Trick. And 4 wide is Pokerante. Off the turn and less than an 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. Big and Fancy with the lead. CAMBIDEXTROUS is coming to her and coming on as they come to the wire. CAMBIDEXTROUS is getting up. Finishing second of the mile was the 5, Big and Fancy. It was close for 3rd. Might have been the 2, Tiger's Time to Ring. The time of the mile, 1:58, 3/5. CAMBIDEXTROUS in a first career win. Circle to be greeted by Heather Miller. She'll do throughout the evening. Here's the 7, CAMBIDEXTROUS in a first career victory, timed in 1:58 and 3. Now your official winner, a 3-year-old bay filly by Camtastic out of a big filly. She by Mantis is owned by Jack Pride and Edward Miller. They're of Wisconsin and Illinois, trained by Jeff Miller. Nicely driven here this evening by wedding driver Dave Hawk. Number 7, CAMBIDEXTROUS, first career win, 1:58, 3/5. 7.5 exacta, 33.80. 7.52 try, 150.60. A field of 7. Number 1 is Anna's Can Do, owned by Earl Zerfus Jr. of Wilmington, Ohio, trained and driven by Jack Dailey. Number 2 is CAMBEST Girl, owned by Richard Garrison of Frankfort, Ohio, trained by Brett Ader with Jeff Fout. The 3, OK Noble Debbie, is out judges. The 4 is Dorothy's Jate, owned by Dorothy Gear of Lakewood, Colorado, trained by Jim Artledge Jr., Dallas Miller.
The 5 is Glen Willow Lady, owned by Gary Risco of Hilliard, Ohio, trained and driven by Fred Huff Jr. The 6 is Jackie's Aim, owned by James and Judy Ferguson of Richwood, Ohio, trained by James Ferguson with Bob Harper. The 7 is CJ's Connection, owned by Bill Robinson of Begonia, Ohio, trained by Mark Evers with Dave Hawk. And for the outside of the 8 is CJ Rainmaker, owned by John Fike of New Albany, Ohio, trained and driven by Billy Walters.
Field swings to the back stretch, getting set for a start. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. There goes CAMBEST Girl. Middle of the racetrack, Glen Willow Lady is driving out for command as well. Coming away in third from off the rail, there is Anna's Can Do. Looking to drop in fourth is Dorothy's Jade. Away in 5 is CJ's Connection. 6th is Jackie's Aim. And 7th in trailing the field, that is CJ Rainmaker. As they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter, and Glen Willow Lady and Fred Huff Jr. have made the lead here. But right back on the outside, here comes CAMBEST Girl. She doesn't want the 2-hole. She wants the front end tier through an opening quarter of 29 seconds flat. Marching on by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. And CAMBEST Girl and Jeff Fout has her on the front end tier, leading it by a length and 3/4. To the inside, Glen Willow Lady is racing in second. Tracking along in third is Anna's Can Do. Fourth on the inside, that is Dorothy's Jade. 5th is CJ's Connection. 6th in a move to the outside is Jackie's Aim. And 7th in trailing the field, CJ Rainmaker. As they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half, and CAMBEST Girl, your 8-5 punter's choice, leads them to the half. They're halfway home in 101 2 fast. CAMBEST Girl with the lead here by length and a half. To the inside, racing in second, Gwen Willow Lady, and now rushing up on the outside. Here comes Jackie's Aim, and she's took dead aim on the leader here as they race down the backside. From the inside, CAMBEST Girl up on the outside. Jackie's Aim sticks a half in front. To the inside, CAMBEST Girl is battling back in second. Glen Willow Lady could not go with them in third. Second over the outside in fourth, that is Dorothy's Jade as they step towards 3/4 on the board in 1:30 2 fast. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Jackie's Aim to the inside has battled back for the lead. Up on the outside, racing in second, that is Jackie's Aim. Along the inside, CAMBEST Girl, and coming back to him, Gwen Willow Lady off the turn to the top of Power Alley. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. CAMBEST Girl with the lead. Jackie's Aim is still there, and on the inside, Gwen Willow Lady along with Anna's Can Do, but at the wire, CAMBEST Girl in front. Finishing second was the 6, Jackie's Aim. Third was the 5, Gwen Willow Lady. The top of the mile, 1:59 2 fast. CAMBEST Girl won a first career victory. The unofficial winner of the second race, breaking her maiden here in 1:59 2. Here's the 2, CAMBEST Girl, a 2-year-old bay filly by CAMBEST out of a steady fame. She by Farmstead's fame. Owned by Richard Garrison of Frankfort, Ohio. Trained by Brett Ader. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Jeff Fout. The 2, CAMBEST Girl, first career victory, 1:59 2 fast. Jeff Fout pilots her home. .26 exacted, 27.80, 265 try, 96.20, early double, 7.2, 27.60. The 1 is Linda Linnell, owned by Charles Blankenship of Asheville, Ohio, trained by Curl Bray with Brett Miller up. The 2 is FALCON'S FIDDLE, owned by Jason Barton of Lebanon, Ohio, trained and driven by the K-Man, Kayne Kauffman. Number 3 is Major Baby, owned by Inge Nyemski of Sardinia, Ohio, trained by Lezik Nyemski with Mark Winners. The 4 is Sam's Gracie D, owned and trained by Thomas Blankenship of Asheville, Ohio. Sandy Beatty is up. The 5 is JJ Ability, owned by Marcia Massey of Washington Courthouse, Ohio, trained by John Joseph, Jack Dailey. The 6 is Arizona Katie, owned by Howard Mills of Mount Vernon, Ohio, trained by Howard Mills, Dave Hawk. Number 7 is She Deals Too, owned by William Cantrell of Oil Springs, Kentucky, trained by Jeff Brewer. Jason Brewer is at the lines. Number 8 is My Sweet Connection.
Reporting late to the post parade there, owned by Norma Gardner of Salina, Ohio, who also does the training, Bob Harper. The 9 is I'm a Rain Dancer, owned by Olive Brannigan of Jamestown, Ohio, trained by Mark Wagner, Danny Noble, and scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Sarah's Blaze, owned by Charles McDonough of Springfield, Ohio, trained by Chris Justice. Kyle Waiter is in her sulky.
This time, we'd like to welcome all of our friends from the state of California. Welcome to Scioto Downs, Ohio's showplace of racing. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the outside. There goes the 6, Arizona KATIE. In between horses, that is Sam's Gracie D. Driving through to be third, that is FALCON'S FIDDLE. Away in fourth is Linda Linnell. Got to the outside in 5, looking to duck in there. That is She Deals 2. Away in 6th is Sarah's Blaze. 7th on the inside, Major Baby. 8th is JJ Ability. 9th on the inside is My Sweet Connection. And 10th in trailing the field, that is I'm a Rain Dancer. As they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter, the initial quarter, and a barn buster. 27 seconds flat in Sam's Gracie D. And Sandy Beatty has sent this one down on the front end here, leading it by a length and a half. To the inside, Arizona KATIE is stalking in second. FALCON'S FIDDLE was going along in third. Linda Linnell races in fourth. Fifth, that is She Deals 2, who flushes to the outside there. Flushing that cover was Major Baby. As they race around the clubhouse turn, Sarah's Blaze to the inside is racing in seventh. 8th on the inside as they race towards the halfway mile mark of the race. On the inside there, as they race by the half, is JJ Ability. They were halfway home in 57 2/5. A well-rated second, panel of 30 2. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4, and Sam's Gracie D is calling the shots here by length and 3/4. To the inside, Arizona KATIE is right there in the garden spot, racing in 2. FALCON'S FIDDLE is racing in 3rd. First over on the rim, racing in 4th. That is She Deals 2. Second over the outside in 5. That is Major Baby. 6th is Linda Linnell. 7th to the outside of there. As they race by the 3/4 mile mark of the race is Sarah's Blaze. 3/4 and 127 flat. Backside 29 3. Pacing the final turn to the head to the top of Heartbreak Lane, and Sam's Gracie D with the lead here, but She Deals 2 is drove up alongside in second and ready to swing 3 wide. That is Major Baby to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Pacers coming from everywhere. She Deals 2 with the lead. Major Baby and I'm a Rain Dancer is charging on the outside, but as they come to the wire, She Deals 2 in front. Finishing second of the mile was the 9, I'm a Rain Dancer. Third was the 3, Major Baby. The time of the mile, 157 4/5. She Deals 2. Circle, the unofficial winner of the third race, Fillies and Mares, condition, pace, and 157 4. Now your official winner. Here's the 7, She Deals 2. A 6-year-old bay mare by Cam's Card Shark out of a light lot. She by No Nukes is owned by William Cantrell of Oil Springs, Kentucky. Trained by Jeff Brewer. Nicely handled here this evening by wedding driver Jason Brewer. First win in 2003, the 7, She Deals 2, and Jason Brewer, 157 4. It's official, 7-9-3-10 is official, 7-9 exacta, 35.60, 7-9-3 try, return $638 even. Four on the bottom. In review, 9-8-3. 10, 7, 6, 1, 5, 2, 4 on the bottom.
Number 1 is Homer Iliad, owned by Mary Jo Rainey Bross of Portsmouth, Ohio, trained and driven by Sandy Beatty. Number 2 is Little Joe, owned by Parker of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, and Berger of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Doug Parker with Dean Collins. Number 3 is ATT Princess, owned by Catherine Hawk of Orient, Ohio, trained by Lloyd Hawk. Dave Hawk is up. The 4 is Stormy Hall. My Bud Light long shot of the night is owned by Thomas York Jr. of Granville, Ohio, trained by Jim Artledge Jr., Dallas Miller. Number 5 is Sprightly Begonia, owned, trained, and driven by Sherald Haynes of Blissfield, Michigan. The 6 is Black Gold, owned, trained, and driven by Willard Miller of Jamestown, Ohio. Number 7 is Flossy Flow, owned by John Hallman of Newark, Ohio, trained by Ebert Quinn with Jeff Fout. The 8 is Sue Me, owned and trained by J. Tom Gray of Dayton, Ohio. Brett Miller is up. From the outside of the 9 is Brittany Lee, owned by Roger Plummer of Wilmington, Ohio. Roger Plummer also does the training and driving. And scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Striking Sabrina. The lessee is also the trainer and driver Jack Dailey of Jamestown, Ohio, in the sulky.
Moving in behind the gate, a field of 10 swings to the back stretch. Brittany Lee is off stride, back down trotting. They're in the hands of the starter. Field in motion. Break the 6, black gold before the start. They're all fan trotting in, firing out of there for the lead. There goes ATT Princess, driving up from the outside. There is Flossy Flow. Away in third is Homer Iliad. Up on the inside, racing in fourth, that is Striking Sabrina. Fifth there, that is Little Joe. Dropping in sixth is Stormy Hall. Seventh, that is Sprightly Begonia. Eighth on the inside is Sue Me. Back down trotting in ninth, that is Black Gold. In 10th and trailing the field, that is Brittany Lee. And Roger Plummer can see them all. As they trot around the first turn over to the opening quarter, an ATT Princess is on the front end here through an opening quarter of 29 seconds flat as they march by the stands for the first time and head on down to the half in single file formation. And on top, ATT Princess leads it by a length and a quarter. Homer Iliad is nose to helmet racing in second as they roll under the wire with 5/8 of a mile remaining. Flossy Flow is tracking the leaders from third. First to flush on the outside in fourth. That is Striking Sabrina, who's towing along Stormy Hall, flushing out that cover as they trot around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. Along the inside, trotting in sixth, that is Little Joe. To the outside in seventh. Third over is Sue Me. As they trot by the half, they're halfway home in 1 minute and 2 fast. To the outside in eighth, that is Sprightly Begonia. Outside in ninth is Brittany Lee. In 10th and trailing the field, Black Gold. Heads are pointed towards three quarters. Down the backside they roll, and on top of the field, ATT Princess with the lead here. Leads it by a length. Grinding it out first over the outside. Racing in two, that is Striking Sabrina. Along the inside, trotting in third, that is Homer Iliad. Perfectly positioned here. Second over the outside in fourth, that is Stormy Hall. The outside racing in five. Third over, that is Sue Me. Sixth on the inside is Flossy Flow. They're at three quarters in 1:29 and 3 fifths. They'll trot the final turn and head for home. On top of the field, ATT Princess has got every call thus far. Leads it by a length, but up on the outside, that is Striking Sabrina. Now swinging out three wide of the outside. Here comes Sue Me off the turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. ATT Princess and HUGH is all over this one. Sue Me is charging on the outside late, but at the wire, this is ATT Princess, gate to wire. Finishing second was the 8 Sue Me. Third was the 10 Striking Sabrina. The time of the mile, 1:59, 4 fifths. ATT Princess and Dave HUGH. Team HUGH scores here. Trackside of the winner's circle, the official winner of the fourth race, trotting home in 1:59 and 4 fifths. Here's the 3 ATT Princess, gate to wire. A 5-year-old bay mare by Call Toll Free out of a Ms. Happy Princess. She by Flower Child is owned by Catherine HUGH of Orient, Ohio, trained by Lloyd HUGH. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Dave HUGH. That's 2 wins on this evening's card for Dave HUGH, giving him a driving double. ATT Princess reporting home in 1:59, 4 fifths. Here's a rundown for the fourth race, top to bottom. 5, 10, 1, 4, 6, 9. The 1 is Sassy Gwen, owned by Earl Standard of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Russ Baldwin with Danny Noble. Number 2 is FAST-GOIN-ALEXIS, owned by Larry Six and Brett Swartz. They're both of the Buckeye State, trained by Larry Six with Jeff Smith. Number 3 is Halo's Mirage, owned by Dan Russo of Westerville, Ohio, trained by Brian Brown, Bob Harper. The 4 is KIANA'S Connection, owned by Vicki Lynn Fisher of Clarksville, Ohio, trained by Tim Fisher, Jack Dailey. The 5 is Praying for Daylight, owned by Timothy Lane of Marysville, Ohio, trained by Jim Artledge Jr. Dallas Miller is up. The 6 is Unexpected Return, owned by John McDonough of Springfield, Ohio, trained and driven by Chris Justice. The 7 is She's Elegant, owned by Ballinger, Klotz, and Dar. They're all the Buckeye State, trained by Dave Klotz. Mark Klotz is up. The 8 is Goodnight Connection, owned by the Spring Mill Venture of New Albany, Ohio, trained by Delvin Criswell. Dave HUGH. From the outside of the 9 is Perfect Daiquiri, owned by Sherry Myers and Diane Smith, both of Ohio, trained by Sherry Myers with Kyle Wader. And scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Snitch Cat, owned by Stanley Crow of Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Jonathan Crow. Brett Miller is in her sulky. The back stretch. They're in the hands of the starter. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the outside. There goes She's Elegant right alongside. That is Goodnight Connection. Coming away racing in third is Fast-GOIN-ALEXIS. Away in fourth, that is Sassy Gwen. To the outside in 5, that is Perfect Daiquiri, who is going on there as they race around the first turn and over to the opening quarter in a royal scramble for command of the 10. Snitch Cat went on a bad break there as they race around the first turn and over to the opening quarter and on top of the field. That is Goodnight Connection, but up on the outside, Perfect Daiquiri is looking to clear here through an opening quarter of 28 seconds flat as they race by the stands for the first time and head on down to the half. And on top, Perfect Daiquiri is clear to the front from post 9 as they roll under the wire with 5/8 of a mile remaining. On the inside, Goodnight Connection is yielded for a garden spot in 2. Third, that is She's Elegant. Fourth on the inside, FAST-GOIN-ALEXIS. First over on the outside in 5 is Praying for Daylight. Sixth on the inside as they race around the clubhouse turn. That is Sassy Gwen, who moves to the outside there. And they reach the halfway mile mark of the race. They're halfway home in 59 seconds flat. A second panel with 31 seconds. Off the turn and driving down the backside. On top from the inside, Perfect Daiquiri with the lead here by a neck. Grinding it out first over the outside in 2. That is Praying for Daylight along the inside. Watching over these doing leaders from third. That is Goodnight Connection. Second over the outside. Racing in fourth. That is Halo's Mirage. Buried at the inside. Racing in 5. That is She's Elegant. And backing through the field badly here is Praying for Daylight. And Dallas has took this one clear to the outside here. 3/4 in 1:29 and 2/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. And now over the outside, Sassy Gwen, and Sassy Gwen blows right onto the top to the inside. Racing in second, Perfect Daiquiri. Off the cones from third is Goodnight Connection. To the top of Power Alley. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And driving through the stretch, Sassy Gwen with the lead. Perfect Daiquiri to the outside, Goodnight Connection. But as they roll within the final 16th, Sassy Gwen is going on and going strong. Finishing second was the 9, Perfect Daiquiri. Third was the 8, Goodnight Connection. The time of the mile, 1:59 flat. The winner was the 1, Sassy Gwen, at a new lifetime mark. Circle, the unofficial winner of the 5th race, Fillies and Mares, maiden claiming pace, timed in 1:59 flat to establish a new lifetime mark. Here's the 1, Sassy Gwen, a 3-year-old bay filly by Gainful Pursuit. She added Poetic Gwen. Mare, She by Direct Scooter, is owned by Earl Standard of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Russ Baldwin, nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Danny Noble. Number 1, Sassy Gwen, and Dan Noble from off the rails scores in a new lifetime mark, 1:59 flat. Mark, Sassy Gwen returns $362.40, $260. Second of the mile was the 9, Perfect Daiquiri, returning $3, $4. Finishing. Horses are on the track and put in the pose for the 6th race. A distance to be trotted of 1.25 miles. Condition trotters, a purse of $2,000. Scratch the 6, Sturdy Yellow Sick, leaving us a field of 9. The 1 is Spartan Hall, owned by Ned Hodkinson of Hilliard, Ohio, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. Ned Hodkinson is up. Number 2 is Lore Bob, owned by Walters of Newark, Ohio, and Norman of Zanesville, Ohio, trained and driven by Dave Myers. Number 3 is Wall Street Classic, owned by William Cantrell of Oil Springs, Kentucky, trained by Jeff Brewer, Jason Brewer at the lines. Number 4 is Ask Me About It, owned by Parker of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, and Berger of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Doug Parker with Dean Collins. Number 5 is Experience, owned by Russell Britton of Newark, Ohio, who also does the training, Joe Adamski. The 6, Sturdy Yellow, is out sick. The 7 is Hootie and the Fish, owned and trained by Brent Davis of Zanesville, Ohio, Dave Hawk. The 8 is Super Bandit, owned by Jerry Folk and Connie Armstrong of Westerville, Ohio, trained by Jerry Folk with Dan Noble. From the outside of the 9 is Glenview Speedster, owned, trained, and driven by Scott Ferguson of Troy, Ohio, and scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Recommended, owned by Russell Herr and Michael Price. They're both of the Buckeye State, trained by Mike Price. Mike Price is in the sulky. That's the field for the 6th race, a 1.25 mile trot. Scratch the 6, Sturdy Yellow. Condition trotters are all moving in behind the gate. Down to a field of 9 with a scratch of the 6, Sturdy Yellow. A 1.25 miles. Top of the stretch. Here they come. They're all fan trotting and firing away from the inside. There goes the two. Lord Bob right alongside. That is Spartan Hall. From the outside, there is Hootie and a Fish as they trot around the first turn. Coming away, racing in fourth. That is Wall Street Classic. Caught to the outside in five is Experience. On the inside, racing in six. That is Recommended as they race around the turn and head down the backside for the first time. On top of the field, Spartan Hall, but up on the outside, here comes Hootie and the Fish, and Hootie and the Fish is looking to take charge here as they roll down the backside. Hootie and the Fish is on top, leading them through an opening quarter of 29 and 4/5. To the inside, stalking in second, that is Spartan Hall. Along the inside, racing in third, that is Lord Bob. Away in fourth, that is Wall Street Classic. First over the outside in five, that is Experience. Sixth on the inside, that is Recommended. Seventh, that is Ask Me About It. Eighth on the inside is Super Bandit, and ninth and trailing the field, that is Glenview Speedster as they trot the far turn. On top, Hootie and the Fish with the lead here by a comfortable length and 3/4. To the inside, Spartan Hall is right there trotting in second as they reach the halfway mile mark of the race. They're halfway home in 1 minute and 4/5 as they trot by the stands for the first time and head on down to the half. On top, Hootie and the Fish leads the way here. Spartan Hall is tracking from second. First over on the rim, trotting in third, that is Experience. Inside in fourth is Lord Bob. Fifth, that is Wall Street Classic. Second over on the outside in sixth is Super Bandit. Seventh is Recommended. Eight to the inside as they trot around the clubhouse turn. That is Glenview Speedster. Ninth and trailing the field as they trot around the clubhouse turn is Ask Me About It. On top, Hootie and the Fish. Hootie and the Fish leads them here, and Hootie and the Fish reports to 3/4 in 1:33 and 1/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside for the last time of the 1.25 mile trot. And on top, Hootie and the Fish leads it here, leads it by a length and a half. To the inside, Spartan Hall is tracking in second. First over on the outside, trotting in third and beginning to tire here. That is Experience, sending up 3 wide to the outside. Super Bandit, who is a little rough gated. Lord Bob is down along the inside in fifth. Sixth to the outside is Wall Street Classic. Seventh on the inside is Recommended. Eighth is Glenview Speedster, and ninth and trailing the field, that is Ask Me About It as they went the mile time in 2:03 flat. They'll trot the final turn and head for home, and Hootie and the Fish is opening up here by 5. To the inside, Spartan Hall has had a tough time keeping up with him in second, and Super Bandit is racing in third. Off the turn to the top of the stretch, less than 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and Hootie and the Fish is absolutely rocking away from this field as they roll within the final 16th. Hootie and the Fish is showing his heels to the field. Super Bandit trotted on late to be second. Spartan Hall was third. Fourth was Wall Street Classic. The time of the 1.25 mile, 2:32, 1/5. Trackside of the winner's circle. Home a 1.25 mile in 2:32 and 1/5. Here's the 7, Hootie and the Fish. A 10-year-old bay gelding by Super Gill out of a Continental Stride. She by Speedy Crown. Is owned and trained by Brent Davis of Zanesville, Ohio. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Dave Hawk. Posting the second win in 2003, the 7, Hootie and the Fish gives Dave Hawk a driving triple. Time of the 1.25 mile, 2:32, 1/5. Pick 3, 3 of 3, 3780s, 7-8 exacta, 25-20, 781 try, 73-20. Horses are on the track and put to the post for the 7th race. Fillies and mares, condition claiming pacers of 1 mile, a purse of $2,200, a field of 10, no changes. Number 1 is Polo Jen, owned by Charlie Little and Wendy Stockwell of Stonbury, Ohio, trained by Wendy Stockwell with Charlie Little up. The 2 is Charity Bond, owned by Mullen of Fort Wright, Kentucky, and Morgan of Villa Hills, Kentucky, trained by Tom Horner Jr., Jeff Fount. Number 3 is Rocky's Molly, owned by Terry Green of Batavia, Ohio, trained by Joe Essig. Brett Miller is up. The 4 is Blue Rock Cross, owned by Eddie George of Zanesville, Ohio, trained by Eddie George with Jamie Dunlap. Number 5 is Teak, owned by Doris Newhart of Marietta, Ohio, trained by Ron Newhart with Dave Hawk. The 6 is Noble Flora, owned and trained by Arthur McRae of Waverly, Ohio. Adam Rucker. The 7 is Don't Slow Down, owned by Keith and Donna Ross of Bell Fountain, Ohio, trained and driven by Bob Harper. The 8 is Yes You Will, owned by Linda Pape of Wilmington, Ohio, and Mark Winters of Sabina, Ohio, trained and driven by Mark Winters. From the outside of the 9 is Amy's Shining Angel, owned by Deborah Sears of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Larry Sears, Danny Noble, and scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Sharp Connection, owned by Wiggins and Rose Stables, limited liability practice of Xenia, Ohio, trained and driven by Jack Dailey in her sulky stretch. Field in motion. Field of 10 being sent on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. There goes Polo Jen. Middle of the racetrack, there drives the 4 Blue Rock Cross. Dropping in, racing in third, that is Noble Flora. Gap at 2.5, racing in fourth, that is Teak Teak. Away in 5, that is Sharp Connection. 6th on the inside, that is Charity Bond. 7th on the inside is Rocky's Molly. Coming away in 8th, that is Don't Slow Down. 9th on the inside, that is Yes You Will. And 10th and trailing the field, that is Amy's Shining Angel, and Danny Noble can see them all as they move by the opening quarter in 28 and 2/5. And Blue Rock Cross and Jamie Dunlap on the front interior by length and a half. Polo Jen is up and out of the 2-hole here and is up to pressure the pace as they roll towards the halfway mile mark of the race. Blue Rock Cross on the inside. Polo Jen is right back in the garden spot, racing in 2. The inside, Noble Flora is racing in 3rd, and now first over the outside, racing in 4th. Here comes Sharp Connection, towing along Teak Teak as they race around the clubhouse turn. On top of the field, Blue Rock Cross with the lead here, but up on the outside, Sharp Connection is there to pressure the pace in 59 and 2 as they were halfway home. Off the turn and driving down the backside, Fillies and Mares heads are pointed towards 3/4. On top, Blue Rock Cross with the lead here, grinding it out first over the outside, racing in 2, that is Sharp Connection. Along the inside, Polo Jen is racing in 3rd, perfectly placed. 2nd over the outside in 4th, that is Teak Teak. Buried at the rail, racing in 5, that is Noble Flora. 6th on the outside, Charity Bond. 3 wide out there in 7th, that is, as they race towards the 3/4 mile mark of the race, that is Rocky's Molly. They went to 3/4 in 1:29 and 1/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Blue Rock Cross to the inside, but to the outside, Sharp Connection is still there, still coming to him and ready to swing 3 wide for the stretch drive. That is Teak Teak, and awaiting the passing lane is Polo Jen. Off the turn in less than 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come with the lead here. Blue Rock Cross, middle of the track as they drive towards the wire is Sharp Connection, and 3 wide is Teak Teak, and coming onto the inside, Polo Jen is flying home a winner. Polo Jen is getting up. Finishing 2nd in the mile, looked like the 5 Teak Teak. It was very close for 3rd, may have been the 10 Sharp Connection. Down to the mile, 1:59, 4/5, Polo Jen. Trackside of the winner's circle, the unofficial winner of the 7th race from off the rail, the 1 Polo Jen, getting up in deep stretch. A 3-year-old bay filly by Polo Player out of a Colwood Granny mare, she by Umbro Emerson. Is owned by Charlie Little and Wendy Stockwell of Sunbury, Ohio. Trained by Wendy Stockwell, nicely handled cheer this evening by winning driver Charles Little. 2nd win in 2003, 2nd win of her career, timed at 1:59, 4/5. The 1 Polo Jen and Charles Little, 25 to 1. 1-5, 10-8 is unofficial. One 5, 10-8 is now official. Bombs away here, 1-5 exact to return, 621.80, 1-5-10 try. A dollar ticket is worth $6,824.60. The bottom, 186, 725, 1049, 3 on the bottom. In review, 186. The 1 is Cam Sailor, owned by Kenneth Thompson of Baltimore, Ohio, trained and driven by David Myers. Number 2 is Hawaiian Macho Man, owned and trained by Randy Lee Owens of Lebanon, Ohio. Jeff Fount is up. The 3 is Maximum Revenge, owned by Ida Hardman of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Frenchie Fuller with Brett Miller. Number 4 is Joe P. Cadet. The lessee is also the trainer William Dorn of Worthington, Ohio. Jason Moore is up. The 5 is LA Raider, owned by Gregory Luther of Gahanna, Ohio, trained by John Robinson with Greg Luther up. The 6 is Incredible Melvin, owned by Stephen Watkins of Sydney, Ohio, trained by Myron Earl with Jim Shelton. Number 7 is Jake Propelled, owned and trained by Ron Barker of Chillicothe, Ohio. Bob Harper is up. The 8 is Governor Hooney, owned by K. Rush of Kenton, Ohio, trained by Brad Crates with Kyle Waiter. Number 9 is LS Purse Snatcher, owned by Ronald Ross of Staffordsville, Kentucky, trained by Jeff Brewer. Jason Brewer is up, and scoring from off the 2nd tier is number 10, Katie's Brett, owned by Rick Crum Jr. of Rushvania, Ohio, trained by Rick Crum Jr. Mark Winters in the sulky. A field of 10. Field in motion. Break the 7. Jake propelled before the start. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. There goes Hawaiian Macho Man. Driving up from the middle of the track, there's Incredible Melvin. Away in third from off the second tier, that is Katie's Brett. Dropping in, racing in fourth is Maximum Revenge. A gap at 2. Racing in fifth, that is Cam Sailor. Sixth and being angled in there is Joe P. Cadet. Seventh on the inside, that is Governor Hooney. Ninth on the inside, that is LA Raider. And 10th and trailing the field, that is LS Purse Snatcher. And Jason Brewer can see them all as they march by the opening quarter in 28 seconds flat and past the stands for the first time and head on down to the half. Hawaiian Macho Man leads it here by a length and a quarter. Incredible Melvin is right there in the garden spot, racing in 2. Along the inside, racing third, that is Katie's Brett. Fourth on the inside is Maximum Revenge. Fifth is Cam Sailor. Sixth is Joe P. Cadet. Seventh at a tip to the outside is LA Raider as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. On top of the field, Hawaiian Macho Man with the lead here by a length and a half. To the inside, Incredible Melvin is tracking in 2 as they went by the half in 59 seconds flat. A second panel with 31 seconds. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and on top with the lead. That is Hawaiian Macho Man. Grinding it out first over the outside, racing in 2. That is Maximum Revenge. The inside, racing in third. That is Incredible Melvin. Second over on the outside, racing in fourth. That is Cam Sailor. Pulled up and out of the race there. That was the 7 Jake Propelled as they track down the backside, nearing 3/4. They're at 3/4, 3/4 and 127 and 3/5. And Hawaiian Macho Man, your punter's choice here. Even money favorite, leads it by a length and a half. Incredible Melvin is still right there at his back and is waiting to come to the outside and does so now as they turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come, driving through Power Alley. Whips are out here on top of the field. Hawaiian Macho Man with the lead. Incredible Melvin is trying to come to him as they drive within the final 16th. Hawaiian Macho Man, gate to wire. Second was the 6, Incredible Melvin. Third was the 10, Katie's Brett. The time of the mile, 1:56, 3/5, Hawaiian Macho Man. Reporting trackside of the winner's circle, your official winner of the 8th race, timed at 1:56 and 3, gate to wire. Here's the 2, Hawaiian Macho Man. A 6-year-old bay horse by Western Hanover out of a grand entrance mare, she by Amity Schaff, is owned and trained by Randy Lee Owens of Lebanon, Ohio. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Jeff Fount. The third win in 2003, number 2, Hawaiian Macho Man, 1:56, 3/5. For driver Jeff Fount, that's 2 wins on this evening's program, giving him a driving double. 2-6 exacta returns $28, 2-6-10 try returns $447.40.
Kathy Hawk brings them out for the first half of the late daily double. Stallions and Geldings, conditioned claiming pacers, a 1 mile, a purse of $2,000, a field of 10, no changes. The 1 is Milway Big Cam, owned and trained by Jeffrey Mark Brewer of Morrow, Ohio. Jason Brewer is at the lines. The 2 is It's Carl Again, owned and trained by Harry Altop of Urbana, Ohio. Jack Dailey. The 3 is Attaboy Storm, owned by Long of Washington Courthouse, Ohio, and Long of Jeffersonville, Ohio, trained by Alvin Long with Jeremy Smith. The 4 is We Be Lee, owned by the Strollen Stable of Marion, Ohio, trained and driven by Bobby Arnett. The 5 is Slammy, owned by Donald Turner of New Haven, Indiana, trained by Robert Davis with John Collins. The 6 is Gypsy Double Deal, owned, trained, and driven by the K-Man, Kayne Kauffman of Arcanum, Ohio. The 7 is Classical Lover, owned and trained by David Lowe of Mechanicsburg, Ohio. Dave Hawk is up. The 8 is Adam Quinton, owned by David Ehrenberg, the 2nd of Westerville, Ohio, trained by Jim Pollock Jr., Jamie Dunlap. From the outside of the 9 is Brett 7, owned by Arda Hardman of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Frenchie Fuller, Brett Miller, and scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Diamond Aribo, owned by Melby Ober Sr. of Cable, Ohio, trained by Ann Hildebrand with Jim Shelton and the Sulky.
Backstretch to kick off the late daily double. This field is in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. There goes It's Carl Again, driving up from the middle of the racetrack. There's the 6 Gypsy Double Deal. Right alongside is the 7 Classical Lover. Coming away racing in fourth, that is Milway Big Cam. Away racing in 5 is Diamond Aribo. 6th on the inside, that is Attaboy Storm. 7th there, that is Weeby Lee. 8th on the inside, that is Slammy. 9th along the inside, that is Adam Quinton. And 10th and trailing the field, that is Brett 7, and Brett Miller can see them all as they roll by the opening quarter in 28 seconds flat. flat. Passing the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half, and it's Carl again with the lead here for Jack Dailey by a length and a quarter. Right there in the garden spot, racing into that is Gypsy Double Deal, a gap of 2. Racing in third is Milway Big Cam. Fourth is Classical Lover. First to flush on the outside in 5, that is Diamond Doribo. 6th, that is Attaboy Storm. 7th on the outside is Slammy. 8th along the inside is Weeby Lee, and the 2 trailers are Adam Quinton and Brett 7 as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. On top of the field, it's Carl again through a half. They're halfway home in 58 and 4/5. Along the inside, Gypsy Double Deal is right there in the garden spot, racing in 2. First over on the outside, racing in 3rd. That is Diamond Doribo. Off the turn and setting sail down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4, and it's Carl again with the lead here by a neck. But up on the outside, Diamond Doribo is there to pressure the pace in 2nd. Along the inside, a gapped out here in 3rd. That is Gypsy Double Deal. To the inside in 4th, that is Milway Big Cam. To the outside in 5, that is Attaboy Storm. 3/4 posted on the board in 1:27 and 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home into the inside. It's Carl again with the lead here. Up on the outside, Diamond Doribo is still there, still coming to him. Along the inside, Gypsy Double Deal is racing 3rd. Off the turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go and driving through the lane. On top of the field, it's Carl again with the lead. Diamond Doribo is still pressuring, and Milway Big Cam is getting into the thick of it as it comes to the wire. It's Carl again. Diamond Doribo with one final surge is getting up. Diamond Doribo in front. Finishing 2nd was the 2. It's Carl again. 3rd was the 1. Milway Big Cam. The time of the mile, 1:58. 4/5. Diamond Doribo in a new lifetime mark. Ball number 10, Diamond Doribo, getting up in deep stretch after a first over move here, 1:58 and 4/5 to establish a new lifetime mark. Number 10, Diamond Doribo, is a 4-year-old bay gelding by Look Sharp out of a Peekaboo Star. She by Nuclear Siren. Is owned by Melby Ober Sr. of Cable, Ohio, trained by Ann Hildebrand, Jim Shelton, the winning driver. Number 10, Diamond Doribo, again a new lifetime mark, 1:58, 4/5, first win in 2003. (10-2-1-4) is now official. 10-2 exacta returns 55-20. 10-2-1 try 3:14.80. 3:14.80.
There, the 10th and final race, win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, superfecta, weights. Presenting the field, the 1 is Master Joe, owned and trained by Russell Angelback of Dublin, Ohio, the K-Man, Kayne Kauffman. Number 2 is Levi's Freeman, owned by Vicky Detweiler and Robert Grover, both of the Buckeye State, trained by Robert Grover with David Myers. Number 3 is SULKY'S Trek. The lessee is Jerry Palmer of Cable, Ohio, trained by Charlie Neff with Bob Harper. The 4 is Presidential Bowl, owned by Dupler, Sudermeister, and Metters, all of Ohio, trained by Mike Metters, Jamie Dunlap. The 5 is Trimtastic, owned by Deloy Apple of Ney, Ohio, trained by Charles Peter. Charles Peter is up. Number 6 is Max's Memory, owned by Richard McCall, Bucyrus, Ohio, trained by Ken Zorns, Dale Edwards. The 7 is Arizona John, owned by Charles Hughes of Xenia, Ohio, trained by Steve Hughes with Danny Noble. From post 8, the 8 is Good Time Johnny, owned by Everman and Trout, both of the Buckeye State, trained by Bucky Trout, Kyle Later. From the outside of the 9 is Mystical Cam. The Budweiser Best Bet of the Night is owned by Reed Racing of Newark, Ohio, trained and driven by Dean Collins. And scoring from off the 2nd tier is number 10, Trickeribo, owned by Melby Ober Sr. of Cable, Ohio, trained by Ann Hildebrand with Mark Winters in the Sulky.
Getting set for a start in the finale from Scioto Downs. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away middle of the track. There goes the 4. Presidential Ball gets the first call. Up on the outside of Max's Memory is trying to drive on. In between horses, racing in 3rd. That is SULKY'S Trick. Away in 4th is Master Joe. We're off to the rodeo in here. Away in 5 from off the 2nd tier. That is Trickeribo to the inside and trying to settle in 6th. That is Good Time Johnny as they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter. And Max's Memory is hard pressed but is trying to clear to the front end tier through an opening quarter of 28 seconds. seconds flat. Passing the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. Max's Memory is out there on top, leading it by 2. Taking Long Mile the outside in second, that is SULKY'S Trick. Along the inside in third is Presidential Bull. Racing in fourth, that is Master Joe. A tip to the outside in 5 is Trick Arribo. 6th, that is Good Time Johnny. 7th is Mystical Cam. 8th is Levi's Freeman. 9th is Trimtastic. And 10th and trailing the field, that is Arizona John as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half, and Max's Memory at the half. They're halfway home in 57 1/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 as they set sail. On top, Max's Memory leads it here by a length and 3/4. Into the inside, stalking in second, that is Presidential Bull. First over on the outside, racing in third, that is Master Joe. Second over on the outside, racing in fourth is Good Time Johnny. To the inside, now to the outside in fifth. Third over there, that is Mystical Cam. As they approach the 3/4 mile mark of the race, Max's Memory reports to 3/4 in 1:26 4. Backside 29 4/5 as they pace the final turn, or 29 3 rather. On top, Max's Memory leads it here, but inside, Presidential Bull is patiently awaiting in the garden spot in 2. Off the turn to the top of the stretch, less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Max's Memory to the inside is bracing for the oncoming power of Presidential Bull, and Presidential Bull is rolling on by along with Mystical Cam in the super stretch, but Presidential Bull got the jump on him. Finishing second was the 9, Mystical Cam. Third was the 6, Max's Memory. To round out the super was the 1, Master Joe. The time of the mile, 1:56 2/5, Presidential Bull. Trackside of the winner's circle, first start in 2003, home a winner in 1:56 2 after a trip of a lifetime. Here's the 4, Presidential Bull. A 4-year-old bay horse by Presidential Bull out of a Tracy Sarnell mare. She by Sun Sam is owned by Dupler, Sutermeister, and Metters, that all of the Buckeye State. Trained by Mike Metters, nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Jamie Dunlap. 1:56 2/5, Presidential Bull is undefeated in 2003, 1 for 1. $4961 is now official. $4961 is now official. $49 exacta, $60.40. 496 try returns $306.80. 4961 super returned $1,873.